Welcome to Chaos to Calm. You have adopted and the honeymoon is over. We are your hosts, Jody Randolph,
and Cindy Schultz.
offering practical advice and natural solutions to adoptive moms while maintaining your sanity. So today, it's Cindy's turn to share her story with you.
Yay!
And I'm going to give you a little background of how Cindy and I met. I was at an occupational therapy appointment with my daughter, and Cindy comes in with her kids, I think 3 of them.
Mhm.
And so she was waiting and I was waiting, and I think she probably started talking first. But I remember leaving the therapist office thinking, I want to be her friend. And then we just kind of watched how over the years God has just kept putting us back together. And here we are today visiting with you. So Cindy's going to share a little bit of her story with you today.
It's a crazy story. Thank you. It was that I probably did have 3 kids at that time. I've had well, all but 2 of my kids have gotten occupational therapy with neurofeedback at that location. So that means 8 kids have been through there. So yeah. Okay. Well, I'm Cindy Schultz, and my story is kind of like a roller coaster, but I always start off from in the 3rd grade. And in the 3rd grade, my teacher asked, the question for the class was, what did we want to be when we grew up? And my answer was a mom. And my teacher said, nope, we need something that you can get paid for. And lo and behold, quite a few years later, I am a mom, and I get to stay home because I've adopted kids through the foster care system, and we get subsidies, so which are well needed because I have to stay home. I can't work. I tried it. It didn't work. It didn't work. So we're going to fast forward from 19 something back in the day, and to 2005. And 2005, I was feeling led to investigate foster care. Now, I talked to my husband, to Kevin, and I'd actually talked to him a couple times before this. And his answers was always, nope. He goes, I have enough love. We have 2 kids. We had our 2 oldest at the time. And he goes, I don't have enough love to go around to share for anyone else. That was 2 times. The 3rd time in 2005, there was a child at our kids' school that had experienced some trauma and stuff. And I saw him and his reaction with the people he was with and everything. And my heart just was pulled again in that direction. So I went home and I talked to Kevin, and his answer was, maybe we could do that. Aww. And I knew that God was working on him. I knew that God, if that was the answer, I knew that at that moment, that's the direction we were going to be going. So we started praying about it. And in the first couple weeks, everything just pointed that direction. It was just confirmation after confirmation after confirmation. And then we went to Eric and Emily, our oldest 2, and they were, I don't know, 9 and 10, something like that at the time. And we said, this is what we're thinking about doing. We'd like for you guys to pray about this too. And it didn't take them long. And they were like, yeah, we need to do that. And so we started down that road.
That's about the age when they're thinking, oh, I want a baby brother or sister.
Something like that. Yeah, they thought it would be dandy. But they had hearts for other kids and stuff. And we had friends who had fostered. So I remember one of the things we prayed about, it was kind of like throwing the fleece out to God, was that we would need a bigger car. We had a Dodge Stratus at the time. It was really cozy for the 4 of us. And then one morning I was going to church just on a Tuesday morning. It was in January. It was foggy and stuff. And as I'm turning a corner on this small road, a lifted Tahoe was driving down and totally took the corner, made a left-hand turn, took the corner too tight and drove right up my hood.
Oh no.
And her grill, yeah, I haven't told you this yet. Her grill literally stopped a foot from my windshield.
Oh wow.
And my first thoughts were, I wonder if this is how we're getting a minivan. I wasn't scared, not scared at all. I was totally at peace. In fact, we were right by our church. I called 911. I called my husband. I called the church. They asked if I wanted coffee. I said, sure. I asked the girl driving the truck, I said, you want some coffee? And she went, no, thank you. But I just wasn't scared. I just knew that that's what God was pointing us in that direction. So we started doing our foster care classes and kind of really took our time doing it. And it took us a year before our license was finalized and we had our first 2 kiddos in the house. And they had been in the system for a couple of years and their case plan. I forgot to tell you this. Going into foster care, we were not going to adopt.
Oh.
We were just going to do foster care. The 4 of us said we would love them and then cry when they left. And none of them left. And
oh wow.
And so, but after the first couple weeks of our first next 2 kiddos, we asked our oldest 2 and if they wanted us to adopt them, and they said yes. And because they were referring to them as brothers and sisters, this is my brother, this is my sister. And so we went down that road, and in November of 2006 we adopted them. And then we were done. We had our license. We changed our license to doing respite for other foster care families.
Okay.
And then February the next year, so this was November, 3 months later, we find out that birth mom has had a baby, somehow got the baby out of the hospital because he was supposed to be removed from the hospital. And so we were mandated reporters, and we called the kid's old caseworker, and we just said, keep us in mind. And that evening at like 4:30 in the actually afternoon evening in the church parking lot, we got this 5-day-old baby.
Wow.
And with a diaper bag that smelled like cigarettes and nothing else. And I mean, he's 5 days old. Couldn't take him into a nursery, couldn't take him into the sanctuary. So I went in the office. I had nothing for an infant because we hadn't had an infant since for I don't know, my second one. And so my friend went to Target and comes in with 5 bags of stuff for me, and it was like a baby shower right there.
An immediate baby shower.
Yeah. And so we had a cradle that Kevin's dad had built, and so we had that and nothing else, and now we have a newborn.
Wow.
So that was February 2007. And we're going along, and we're going through the adoption process for him. And January 2008, I wake up one morning and I hear the words, "You're pregnant." And I laughed. And because I'm thinking, I have 5 kids. And then I went, oh, I have 5 kids. And I was trying to remember when the last time, and I was like, I remember November. It's January. So I knew that I would know in like a week. And so we took a test the next week, and sure enough, it was positive. And we laughed because, I mean, we were going on child number 6 in less than 2 years. Yeah. And so we went, so funny, we went to our oldest 2, and we were laughing because if we didn't laugh, we'd cry.
Right.
And so we told them, and my daughter who was so sweet, she started crying because she went from being the youngest to having 3 children below her who all have some kind of trauma. And she starts crying, I don't want to have any more siblings. And then we're still laughing, and my oldest yells at us, "Stop it! You're scaring her," because he thought we were totally joking. And so after a quick conversation with her saying that we wouldn't have missed out on her, and our oldest was only 10
Mhm.
months old when we got pregnant with her, and so she calmed down and was like, okay. So that brought Jillian, and
Mhm.
Jillian a couple months later, because I was in my 40s, we found out that she was going to be born with Down syndrome,
Mhm.
and we had friends with a son with Down syndrome, and we celebrated it. In fact, we went in for the amniocentesis, um, which we decided to do to know for sure,
Right.
and we had to wait a weekend for the results, and I found my heart secretly wanting a child. Actually, not so secretly, but I just really wanted a child with Down
Mhm.
syndrome. I kept thinking to
I
myself,
remember you telling me that
I
in
was
the
like,
therapy
I
office.
know, I know. And I'm like, I had enough
Mhm.
typical children. I wanted a child with Down syndrome. And on that Monday, we found out, and we just celebrated it the
Mhm.
whole way through. And people, our kids would say, "My sister's going to be born with Down syndrome." And they'd be like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And they're like, "What? I don't understand. This is a good thing."
Mhm.
So there's her. So then we're done, right? We let our license go, and we are tooling along. I become chapter leader for Sharing Down Syndrome Arizona. I take an advocacy course. I took the advocacy course. I've got all sorts of things going on, and then we find out about this little boy that's in the system and in foster care, and he has Down syndrome, and I was speaking with his DDD caseworker, and she she said, "Do you want the caseworker's name for?" Oh, she said, "Do you want him?" And I said, "No, but I'll help you find someone. I'll help you find someone." And so she said, "Well, I'll give you the caseworker's name for DCS CPS." And she gave me the caseworker's name, and this person was the same one that brought our original two. She was the same one that went on the removal for the baby, and I knew then, I was like, here we go
Mhm.
again. And it was like this door opened, and God just asked us to step into this void. And
Yeah.
we did. And to make a very long story short, every step we took
Mhm.
was met with solid ground. We stepped out into a void, and God just met
Mhm.
our footsteps with solid ground. And we knew. So that was like in late April, early May of 2015. Um, by July, he was in our home. By September, he was adopted.
Wow.
And it was just crazy. And he is a kick in the pants. He is so funny and strong willed and
Mhm.
crazy, and oh, so much going for him. So there's that. So we're done again. And then January 2020, we get a phone call from California, and it is CPS there asking if we're still interested in adopting our niece's kids. And that hadn't been really on our radar for
Mhm.
a year, because um, the grandparents put our name in there. They were going to put
Mhm.
their names in there, and we're like, no, no, no. If anybody's going to do it, it's going to be
Mhm.
us. And we just totally forgot about it. So Valentine's Day 2020, we met our niece's three children. They were 7, 6, and 4, I think,
Mhm.
at the time. And the youngest was born with Rett syndrome, was nonverbal. Um, and we went home, and then we all know what happened then. We had this huge pandemic, and we talked to them via Zoom, and went through the whole process. And that October, they were in our house. And then just this past December
Mhm.
2021, they were adopted. So
So in other words, you're telling me when God wants it to happen, it happens.
It just happens. We say
He
no,
works out
and he
all the
says,
pieces for it.
right. He does.
Mhm.
He totally does. And if there's anything my family has taught me, it is to trust whatever it is he puts in my path.
Right.
And that there's a purpose for
Mhm.
everything. And I have done speaking at one of our high schools on chromosomes and on Down syndrome, and I would bring Ben and Jillian with me. And at the end of my little presentation, I would always tell the kids that because Ben and Jillian are very different people, very different people. And I'd always tell the kids that there never has been and there never will be a person just like you that can touch the world just like you can. And without you, there's a big you hole in
That's right.
in the world. And so and I believe that for all our kids. I see that. I see that with my kids.
There is a purpose for each one of us. And each one of our kids.
Right. And they might not see it. And that's the hard part.
Right.
Is our kids with trauma have a hard time seeing their value.
They do.
And that's our job, is to show them that they're valued and stuff.
So that is quite the journey.
That is quite the journey. So, and I didn't even get to my website, nevereasyalwaysgood.com. Real life with Down syndrome.
Tell me, what's your favorite essential oil?
Okay, so other than
I know
coffee,
you use them with your kiddos and your family.
I do, and I keep saying I need to do more, and I am doing more. And like other than coffee, right now in my diffusers, I have Terra Shield, which is normally advertised as like a bug repellent, but I also have Serenity because we have some real heightened emotions going on a lot. So we
and that Terra Shield helps with establishing emotional boundaries as well. And the Serenity is very calming.
Yes, and it's just been.
So, what is your feather in all of this? That blessing from above.
That blessing from above. That there's a purpose to everything, and even I mean, there's stuff that is going on in my life right now that if I hadn't had the family that I had, I wouldn't be prepared for it. And it's because of our life experiences that I get to meet people like you, that I get to meet so many amazing people, and I get to allow them to store up treasures in heaven by helping our family. So that's that.
So what's your favorite verse?
My favorite verse is 1 Corinthians 5:7, and that's we walk by faith, not by sight. And that's Ben showed me that.
And your adoption journey has shown that in many ways.
Yeah. It's definitely not what we thought our family would look like. In fact, when we only had 2 kids, people would ask if we're having more, and we'd say nope. Got one that looks like him, one that looks like
God
me.
Said, wait.
and look at now, our family is amazing. And we have unfortunately one of our children, our youngest that we adopted, that we got in 2020, she passed away. She had Rett syndrome, and she had a seizure in the middle of the night and passed away in March of 2021. But then even with that, as hard as that was, we just had a mom down the street that lost her son in a car bicycle accident. And I got to hug on her and help her to know, give her some words of comfort.
That's good. So every experience we have, God uses it in one way or another.
Yeah, he does. He is so faithful.
He is. So let me pray for you this morning.
Thank you very much.
Dear Jesus, thank you for our time together. Thank you for the ability to share with other adoptive moms and to provide support where they need it, when they need it. And thank you that you know exactly what the moms listening need. and you are there to comfort them. Thank you for Cindy and for bringing us together in this life as friends, and for the common ground that you have given us, and the experiences and the knowledge that you have given us through just raising our kids and working through those struggles as they come. Thank you that you are always in control and that you are always with us. And I pray that you will be with the moms that are listening today and give them strength and peace and comfort in whatever situations arrive in their homes today. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
So you can find me, Jody, at jodyrandolph.com, supporting adoptive moms. And you can find Cindy at
nevereasyalwaysgood.com. Real life about Down syndrome, but we're going to have to change it. We're so much more than Down syndrome.
You have a lot more going on now.
We do. We do.
All right. We will see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye, guys.